Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you guys an update to my Fabled deck profile for May 2014. A couple cards, one in particular got released in Dragons of Legend that I thought I'd add to the deck to see how it would play, and it actually plays a lot of fun now. I've also changed a couple other things with the deck, so I'll go ahead and show you guys the deck profile. So let's go ahead and get started. I run 3 Fabled Grimro. Pretty much the entire Fabled deck is based off of discarding each other to either special summon or get other cards' effects off to swarm the field for synchro summons. And with Fabled Grimro, she's the one exception. With her effect, if you control a face-up Fabled monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to add one Fabled monster from your deck to your hand, except Fabled Grimro. So pretty much, she sets up for plays. Most of the time with this card, I go for Fabled Cruise, because with Cruise's effect, after I discard her to the graveyard, I could special summon the Grimro that I sent. Speak of the devil, I also run 3 Fabled Cruise. Pretty much with her effect, when this card is discarded to the graveyard, select one level 4 or lower Fabled monster in your graveyard, except this card, and special summon it. So with Cruise, you discard her. Most Fabled monsters go off of the effect if you discard that monster, special summon it. Cruise is the opposite. She special summons another monster in your graveyard. So she really goes and lets you have a lot of different plays which you can get off. I also run 2 Fabled Kushano. This card, pretty much, you could discard one Fabled monster to the graveyard, except Fabled Kushano, to add this card from your graveyard to your hand. This card gets off a lot of plays. It's your main factor for discarding. You need to get this card into the graveyard as quickly as possible, because it sets up plays really quickly, which is why I like to run 2 Tour Guide. It really helps speed up the process. I also run 2 Fabled Nozochi. This card is mostly for swarming. During your main phase, you can discard one Fabled monster and special summon this card from your hand. When this card is special summoned by this effect, you can special summon one level 2 or lower Fabled monster from your hand. The good thing about Fabled monsters, the one thing that makes them a little superior with the discarding power compared to Dark Worlds, would be that they don't miss timing with their discard effects. They're a mandatory effect. They have to go off when they're discarded. I'm not saying they're superior to Dark Worlds. Dark Worlds top a lot more. But basically, you discard a Fabled monster, and they will always resolve after the chain. That's the one thing. They always have to get their effects off. I also run 3 Fabled Chawa. Pretty much this card is self-explanatory. During your main phase, you can discard one Fabled monster and special summon this card from your hand. Most of the time, I discard Fabled Luri to special summon Fabled Chawa. I discard Luri, special Chawa. Luri's own effect, when he's discarded, special summons himself. I can go for a level 2 Synchro. Most of the time, Formula Synchron. I also run 1 Fabled Raven. Raven just lets me, get those specific plays that I need, depending on how many I need to discard, what level tuner I need, which is why I like running 1 of him. I also run 1 Fabled Catsith. I started running this card after I needed more pop ability. Pretty much when this card is discarded to the graveyard, select one face-up card on the field, destroy it. In this format, pretty much, there are a lot of cards that just stay face-up on the field to stop effects, whether it be Kaiser Coliseum, any of the Fire Formation cards. Catsith really helps fix that problem. I also run 3 Fabled Cerberus. Pretty self-explanatory effect. If this card is discarded to the graveyard, special summon it. Effect that has to go off. It's a level 2 tuner. I use Cerberus for most of my synchro plays, so it's a very good card. I also run 3 Fabled Ganesha. This is a level 3 non-tuner. When this card is discarded to the graveyard, special summon it. If it is special summoned this way, it gains 200 attack and is removed from play when it's removed from the field. So pretty much Ganesha, same effect as Cerberus, just lets me adjust different synchro plays. For example, if I discard Cerberus and Ganesha to the graveyard, both their discard effects will go off, special summoning them, and I can go for a level 5 synchro, which is the 2 of them. And I also run 2 Fabled Luri. Once again, same effect. When this card is discarded to the graveyard, special summon it. I mostly use Luri for my Formula Synchron plays. And I also run, like I said, 2 Tour Guide. This card helps get Kushano into the graveyard, so I run 2 Tour Guide with the 2 Kushano targets. So I can either go for Kushano, or if I've already used both my Kushanos, have the other Tour Guide go into the other Tour Guide. And I also run now 2 Ghost Ship. I used to run Tricky. I find Ghost Ship is a little more consistent since it is also a light monster like all the other Fabled monsters. It cannot be normal summoned or set. It can only be special summoned by banishing one light monster from my graveyard. Most of the time with Tricky, I didn't lose hand consistency because the card I discarded, it was usually Fabled Cerberus or something that could special summon back, so I usually didn't minus much. And the same still goes from Ghost Ship because I'm banishing the monster from the graveyard. And I also run one Doppel Warrior. Once again, just helps swarm with the tokens. I special summon a lot so I can get this guy out really easily. And one Honest, because like I said, all the Fabled monsters are light, so it's a really good card to use. That is it for the monster cards. We have a big monster count. I think it's 29 monsters just because all their effects run off together. You get a lot of monsters in your hand, you're not going to regret it. For spells, I'm running 2 of the new card, Guarded Treasure. This card is a big gamble, but it's also a very good card in the deck. Activate this card by discarding 5 cards, draw 2 cards. While this card's on the field, draw 2 cards instead of 1 for your normal draw phase. Yes, it is a big risk because it could be MST'd or anything like that, could be negated, but the discarding 5 will not really minus you in a way. You'll be able to get off so many different effects, whether it's special summoning with the Cerberals, the Cat Siths, getting Kushano in the graveyard, Cruise's effect. You'll be able to have all those options with Guarded Treasure, plus getting the +2 draw. And also with other synchro monsters you run, like Fabled Reagan, the biggest problem I had when I went to summon Reagan was I would not be able to get his effect off as easily because I would still have a fair amount of cards in my hand. But with Guarded Treasure, it really lowers down my card advantage so I can get extra draws off with Reagan quicker. Plus, I run 3 MST and 1 Dark Hole, pretty much the only staple that I really need in the deck. And for traps, I run 2 Beckoning Light. Pretty much with this card, discard all cards in your hand to the graveyard. Then select a number of light monsters from your graveyard equal to the number of cards you discarded and add them to your hand. So with Beckoning Light, I can get off the discard abilities and at the same time add back Fabled monsters to my hand to reuse. So I can discard card effects that get off like Fabled Cerberus or Ganesha, special summon them that way. And if I had 2 cards in my hand, I can get 2 other Fabled monsters in my graveyard back. Like let's say Grimro or Chawa, something I can use, which is like why I like running Beckoning Light. Plus, I also run 2 Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. It was either this card or Raigeki Break. I really prefer Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. Easier card in my opinion. Discard 1 card from your hand, return 1 card on your opponent's side of the field to the top of the owner's deck. Works really well against Succeed monsters, anything like that. Something that's hard to get over. And 1 Torrential Tribute. That is it for the main deck. We'll move on to the extra. I won 1 Fabled Unicorn, 1 Fabled Gudabi. The level 4 targets for this deck, very easy to get out. Fabled Unicorn is so my opponent has to play with my plays, and Gudabi is for late game stall. I also run 2 Fabled Reagan. These are mostly for draw power and my bigger plays. 1 Ancient Sacred Wyvern. I really hit my opponent hard with this card. Once I deal them damage, Wyvern comes in swinging with high attack points. 1 Formula Synchron, and 1 Hyper Librarian, and 1 Stardust Dragon, 1 Red Dragon Archfiend, 1 Shooting Star Dragon. Very easy to get this card out with the deck. Lots of special summons. I can get Formula Synchron really easily. With Ghost Ship, Stardust Dragon's a no-brainer. I could special summon the Ghost Ship, normal summon Kushano, get it off that way. If I have Chawa and Luri, there's Formula Synchron, then I have Shooting Star. 1 TG Blade Blaster. I just like having another option besides Shooting Star. A couple times my opponent would prohibition me, say Shooting Star, because they knew that was my big card. So instead, I'll just go for TG Blade Blaster. Next best thing next to Shooting Star. 1 Red Nova Dragon, the other big hitter in the deck, a little more difficult to get out. Usually with him, I need to have Red Dragon Archfiend on the field, and then either a Chawa and a Kushano or 2 Cerberals to special summon him, but really hard for my opponent to get over, unless they have something like Compulse or something like that. Plus 1 Mistbird Clozalis, and for the Exceed monsters for Tour Guide, I run 1 Wind-Ups and Mains, and I'm now running 1 Ghost Trick Alucard. Really good to get rid of my opponent's set cards. So yeah, that's it for the deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.